Hello, my name is Nathan Gibriev. This is my IAT355 submission for assignment 3. First, I have a genre color palette up here that I used to encode genre in multiple of my visualizations. So first we have visualization 1, which is essentially what were the most successful genres for each platform. I just wanted to see what the top 3 all-time highest selling genres were. Here on the y-axis we have global sales, on the x-axis we have platform. What I did was use vl.aggregate to group the sales essentially by platform and genre so that I had these big categories instead of individual games. And then I can rank them and filter only the top 3. And then I can use order to order these top 3 within the bar to essentially see these values right here in the tooltip. Next, visualization 1, Q2. What are the highest selling games on platforms which have less than 100 data entries? I just wanted to learn about maybe some lesser known consoles and what their highest selling games were. One thing that I did specifically for this was I filtered out Sonic CD as it had sales of 3 times larger than the second highest, which is Final Fantasy right here. So on the y-axis, global sales, on the x-axis, platform, and you can see how essentially in the tooltip, all of these games are right here, easy to look at. It's great. I used join aggregate to get the number of games, filter out the games or the platforms with game less than 100 data entries for their games, and then group them to get the tooltip data. Or aggregate and then sum and then group by platform, genre, and name to get the tooltip data. Next, for visualization 2, Q1, I used Mark Square to sort the lifetime of each platform. Essentially, I wanted to know when were the most or least individual platforms simultaneously in the market, what was their lifetime, how does it overlap with other platforms. Here we have platforms on the y-axis, years on the x-axis, and one really interesting thing is you can see how platforms lead into their successors. For example, we have the Game Boy Advance made by Nintendo right here, and it leads perfectly into the life cycle of the Nintendo DS. And you can see as gaming, like the industry as a whole, increases in audience size and also, I guess, financially, the sales of the Wii at its prime are so much higher than some of these earlier consoles, even the NES, which was a big console for gaming. Next, for visualization 2, Q2, what are the highest sold genres yearly all across the world? I just wanted to know how do these genres how do these genres stack up over the years? Were certain genres more popular in certain eras? How does that work? As you can see, action is very high. What I did was I used aggregate sum to get points for each line and in each year, and then you can just connect those points instead of having a bunch of different games as data points. Next, for visualization 3, Q1, how does the growth of Nintendo mark their audience's location over time? You can see the growth of Nintendo almost follows this action graph, which is really interesting, but also the whole gaming industry kind of has this spike around the late 2000s, early 2010s right here. Anyway, these lines are each a sales region. And one thing about this specifically is that the sales regions they don't have the same amount of population. So obviously, North America is going to be much higher, but it is interesting that they all increased at the same time. Next, visualization 3, Q2. How do the sales of games for handheld consoles across the world differ from non-handhelds? Do some regions prefer handhelds more than others? So I just wanted to know culturally, lifestyle-wise, essentially, how do these stack up? Do different people in different places prefer different platforms? How does that work? Um, Overall, it's pretty much the same. Once again, it might have been better um, if the North American one wasn't so much higher, but honestly, for this one, it didn't really matter. I just wanted to know if different lifestyles worked, and I expanded a little bit more on that in my report. Now for visualization 4, Q1, we have do platforms from Nintendo continue to succeed in the same genre, or do they vary their focuses across different genres? So essentially, what I mean by this is when Nintendo started making platforming games, and uh, it can be inferred that this was around the time that Super Mario came out. Did they continue to make platforming games, or did they branch out? That's what I wanted to know. And they did honestly continue to make platforming games, and Nintendo have been known to make a lot of platforming games. So overall, I was pleased to find that out. And also, this was really interesting too with Nintendo consoles. this surge in sales, but also surge in sports games, which I suspect is related to the success of the Nintendo Wii. Next, and finally, visualization 4, Q2. Um, on average, do the publishing companies with the highest yearly sales also produce the most games per each year? So essentially, or initially, sorry, I wanted to frame this as like a quality versus quantity thing. Like if you were a publisher with who spent more time to make less games, but maybe they were better games, would you still be able to make as much money as a company that pumped out a lot of games? What I found out was essentially, in a way, but it is not exactly proved by this graph, as in there's a lot of outside factors such as like marketing, resources, audience, things like that that go into how much a game is going to sell. But I was interested to find out that these 2 points right here, Electronic Arts and Nintendo, Electronic Arts has sold or published almost double the amount of games as Nintendo, but Nintendo has almost double the amount of sales over time, which I found really interesting. So yeah, that's about it from me. For this one, I used aggregate count to count the number of games, and then I got the sum total sales grouped by publisher, so that I had, for example, 2,784 games were published by Nintendo, and yeah, and then I just used that to make points in this mark circle graph. So yeah, thank you for listening.